I'm joined today with Ms. Stephanie von Friedeburg, Chief Information Officer and Vice President of Technology and Solutions Group at the World Bank. Stephanie, welcome.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
So I'm really excited to talk to you today because I'm curious, as I looked at your background, you have a degree in economics, and then you actually did an MBA at Wharton, and now you've moved from the business side to IT. So tell us a little bit about your background and this journey.
It's been an interesting journey. I came to the bank group 23 years ago with a degree in Soviet area studies and economics and an MBA. So I was in the private sector arm of the World Bank and spent a couple of years in the former Soviet Union and then came back. And at the time we had a very interesting CEO who believed that you should move people around. And he had 100 technology investment staff, all men, and he decided that he ought to have a woman run that group. So I sat down in the chair and thought, okay, how did I get here? And for the next 15 years, I ran the IT and telecom investment groups for the International Finance Corporation, which is the private sector arm of the bank. And about 15 years into it, the then CEO said, listen, I'd like you to come and just do a little favor for me. And I said, what would you like me to do? And he said, well, I want you to take your knowledge of business and technology and put it to the business. So come and be my CIO, help me clean it up, help me understand better what investments we need to make to be better at what we do. And so I said, okay, I'll do it for 2 years. So I was just about 2 years into the stint, and my predecessor, who was at the bank group level, Shelley Leibovitz, decided to leave the bank group. And at the time, Bob Zolik said, you can leave on one condition, you have a replacement. So she said, well, I have my replacement. She's in IFC. So 3 years ago, I took this job, and it's been incredible.
Fantastic.
We've talked a little bit about this, but I read a lot about what CIOs should do, and the literature is really moving in the direction of away from technology and closer to the business, because that's how you can partner from a strategic perspective.
Right. But you have a pretty difficult business to handle because you're spread all over the world. And so as CIO, how are you ensuring that all this data and information that's flowing through, especially in countries where they do not have as much of critical infrastructure as we have in the developed countries, how are you handling that?
So we have developed a very interesting strategy, which is one, cloud first. So we're moving into distributed data in different data centers through our different cloud providers. And two, everything we do from the worst country to the best country. So every application we build, every piece of equipment we put out, we actually start in the worst countries with the smallest pipes, some of which we still have 15 countries on satellite as primary link. So we start and then we work back in and say, okay, if it'll work there, it'll work in Washington. And we've been very good at trying to begin to create a mobile workforce that's more capable of working in some of our most difficult countries. Right.
And so you're, you have a very interesting background, again, coming back from the business world. How has your leadership style actually evolved as you have gone more towards IT? And, business completely has a lot of analytics and data, but IT also has a whole bunch of analytics and data that might be looking at things from a different perspective. So how do you reconcile all of this information?
So bringing the data that the IT guys create that has to do with value that they're generating for the business and showing the business where there's value. So if I can show someone there's uptime in a data center and it's 99.98, right? We've done something good. The IT departments have never been very successful at showing the business that's where they're adding value. So linking the two together, linking the spend that we need to replace antiquated equipment and to upgrade where we are to how does that add business value, I think is one of the most important things that I've brought to the table. Right. The other thing is that I really believe in hiring the right people, putting them in their job and getting out of their way. And I've got a really very strong, dedicated team of technology people who are helping me run the business.
So which was actually my very next question, because you are dealing with leaders from across the world with their their responsibilities at the country level, perhaps, or the region level. So how have you seen your leadership style evolve over this period?
So the most important thing I've seen my job is really thinking of myself as a service provider to the business. So I've never wanted to create a competitive environment in any way with my other business leaders, which is a very different approach from being in the private sector and leading, private sector investments where my portfolio should be bigger than your portfolio. But learning how to create that positive partnership and help them understand that together we can actually create better technology and be better at development has been a really rewarding thing.
So as the technology curve changes and we have big data, outsource strategies, you talked about the cloud strategy you're pursuing and so on and so forth, where do you see are the big areas for research and development that in your mind is going to position us for the future?
So I love the idea of big data, and it's not just big data, it's data altogether. So if you look at what we do, I'll give you a very good example. We do a lot of household studies, and we have 55 countries in the world where we can only afford to do a household study once every 10 years. How are we really understanding whether or not we're alleviating poverty and creating shared prosperity if we're measuring once every 10 years? So for me, the idea of being able to take interesting data sets that we can buy from outside, so we can buy from mobile operators, people like that, and mashing it up with what we already know and looking for patterns may be able to get us 80% of the way to say we're making a difference in this country without having to do household studies. Right. So things like that, I think, will make us better at development and help us change the way we're looking at our projects.
Great. Any message for our students? This is my final question to you. As you look beyond at 2015, and the new set of talent pool has to be developed in this country to actually keep us secure, do you have any message for our students and what they should be looking at?
So my message to you is study technology, but in addition to technology, study something else. Look outside, understand the environment you're in, understand the business environment, the political environment. These are the things that will shape where technology goes, how it's applied, and how we keep ourselves safe.
Right. Thank you so much, Stephanie. It was absolutely a pleasure talking to you today.